Hi everybody and welcome. My name is Diederik Klopper and I'm the host of the Voices in Payments podcast Season 2, in which we'll talk all about the ABCD of payments. Throughout this season, I will be inviting payment experts to talk about artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud and data, and how these apply, overlap and drive winning business strategies in current day fintechs. In Season 2, I'm joined by directors, VPs and other senior payment experts who oversee these business operations. But even more often, I'm joined by C-level executives, partners and founders who have leveraged these technologies to generate immense growth. In this episode, I'm joined by no other than Denis Kiselev, a CEO and founder of SnapSwap. A true tech entrepreneur, Denis is a Silicon Valley veteran that has come to Luxembourg to start SnapSwap. SnapSwap has just launched a new product called Everest. And Everest is a business payments and expense management platform that allows business owners to monitor and manage credit cards with their teams. Additionally, SnapSwap offers SnapProof, a digital onboarding tool to help speed up the verification process, KYC data collection, and performance of due diligence of customers. Again, a special episode with Denis, so let's get right into it. Denis, a warm welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yes. Denis, how are you today? It's a sunny day here in Amsterdam. How it's over there with you?
Well, it's a little bit cloudy in Luxembourg, but that's okay. That's usual.
Yeah, we know here in the Netherlands it's always a bit rubbish, but today we're lucky. Hey Denis, I always start my podcast the same way, and that's asking, I never met anybody who woke up one day and said, I'm going to be a payment expert. How did you stumble into payments?
Actually, when I finished my university in the US, my first job was with the huge international payment financial institution that is called the World Bank.
Yep.
And that's where I got deep into the space of finance and payments also. And then for 2 decades, I was working in C-level positions in very traditional financial institutions like banks and insurance companies. And I realized very well that there are things that are really done well by established financial system. Like if I would like to move 100 million euro from Luxembourg to New York, I would go to Credit Suisse or to JP Morgan, to big guys, and it will be very fast, very efficient, very secure.
But they got that process figured out.
Yeah, but if I want to move 10 euro from Luxembourg to New York, that will be a disaster because they will take 20 euro just to make a payment. So I realized that there are things in payments, in transactions that are done well, and there are things that are required, that requires a lot of innovation, a lot of technology. So that's why I decided to quit traditional financial system and start my first fintech. It was on the west coast of the US in Seattle, and then we moved to San Francisco. So that's how I got into payments.
Yeah, and how was it for you to realize that you were all of a sudden an entrepreneur? You're coming from quite a traditional financial background, and then all of a sudden you're a fintech entrepreneur. How was that for you?
That's personal. So I wanted to have some change in my career. I understood that I kind of learned a lot about the way traditional institutions work and how to build a career there, and I was quite successful. And I wanted to have a new challenge, to develop something new, to have a change in my lifestyle. So that's why I decided to try and move into fintech, and that proved to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you already gave the example of moving 100 million versus moving 10 euro. So what was the first problem that you really tried to solve when you became an entrepreneur?
So the problems, my approach is that I always try to solve the problem that I experience, that I understand well. So like making payments easily, in the US, the payment system is different from Europe. So we started our first company in the US, and there you just cannot go log into your online bank and make a payment to someone. You have to write a check and send this check by mail, and then someone receives the check and goes to the bank to cash it on the account. So we found it so time consuming and so inefficient. So we wanted to introduce the ways to make it simpler, to use the newer technologies. That was the first very practical problem. I wanted to pay something to my friend. I found out there is no way to do that. So I said, okay, look, let's do something about it.
Yeah. And the first company that you started, is that already SnapSwap or is it a different company?
It was under the same brand. It was SnapSwap in the US. And so when we made an exit, we managed to agree that we preserve the brand. So we transferred our brand to Europe. In Europe and Luxembourg, we created SnapSwap International. That is the company that I'm running now. It's already 5 years old. I established it in 2015. And then we've got the license, and then we passported it to all European countries. So now the company and the brand is European.
Yeah, great. And why did you choose Luxembourg? Because, of course, when coming to Europe, there are specific choices you can make. Where do you want to hold the license? A lot of companies choose Luxembourg. Why was that for you an important decision?
Indeed, it was an important decision. And when we decided that for our next venture, we would like to establish a regulated financial institution, because we wanted to provide our services to the wide range of customers, and we understood that it's a regulated business. We had discussions with regulators in different European jurisdictions. I had a meeting with FCA in London. We went to Malta, we went to Cyprus, we discussed with regulators in Baltics. And after all, on the short list, I had London and Luxembourg. And that was 2 years before anyone mentioned the word Brexit.
So you're happy you made the right decision there.
I think that was a very good, very good decision. Yes. But seriously speaking, Luxembourg is a very convenient place to run financial services. The regulators in Luxembourg have hands-on approach, so you can really talk with them and explain what you want to do, and make sure that you are understood. So it's much easier interaction. Smaller markets where you can try new products like a sandbox, and then expand to all over the Europe using passporting mechanism. So for us, Luxembourg is in fact very good location, and it's a very good home base to offer our services on pan-European scale.
All right. And then when we spoke before, you mentioned how you got started with SnapSwap, but as well that you're currently now in the process of launching a new product called Everest. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, indeed. So Everest is the new products that we created for companies and entrepreneurs like ourselves. The same approach, we face the problem and we created the product to address the problem. And the problem, I can explain it, and I think it resonates with a number of people who are listening us now. When we established company in Luxembourg, I went to my bank and I said, okay, I need credit cards, corporate credit card for my corporate expenses. I don't want to use my personal card for this anymore. They said, okay, fine. We will give you corporate cards, but since you are a new company, we don't know you, we don't know how to assess your risk. We will ask you to provide your personal guarantee against the card.
Yep.
And we will block some amount on your personal, some funds on your personal account. So we will be sure that the card is always repaid. Well, I had no choice. I said yes, and I got the card, but that was only one card for the company. So when, for example, my office manager wanted to make some expenses, I gave her the card physically. I write a PIN on a piece of paper, gave it to her. So that's very unsecure and inconvenient.
Yeah.
When my sales guys were traveling, they were spending their own money for accommodation, for travels, for
I've been there.
lunch.
It's always a hassle. And yeah.
And then they come back and they spend time filing expense reports, and usually 1 or 2 receipts are always lost because you are traveling and you don't have them with me, so they never got a full reimbursement. Everyone was unhappy, and our accountant was spending time reconciling those expense reports.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, what we can do about it? And we approached MasterCard, a huge payments network. with the idea of creating a product that would allow companies like us, startups, small businesses, growing scale-ups, to facilitate the expense management, to make sure that we can focus on our products and on our clients and don't pay much attention, don't spend much time on the expense management. So that's the idea behind Everest. What we created is a platform where, for example, I as an entrepreneur can go and open an account for my company, and it's fully online, fully automated process, takes about 30 minutes. And then I can issue cards for all my employees. And that could be virtual card, plastic card, so very sophisticated tool that allow me to manage my expenses. And at the same time, all transactions are settled against my company account. So it's a company account, company
And
cards
not your
that I give
personal
to
account.
employees. Not my personal account, yes, indeed. And actually, my team members, they feel themselves empowered because I give them cards, corporate cards. Even though I can manage them fully online, I can set up limits. I can set up limits per transaction, per month. I see notifications in real time, what the guys are doing. So it's full control, but at the same time, the card is in their hand and they don't have to spend their own money for the expenses. And when, for example, they need to go over the limits, they can ping me on Slack and I immediately increase the limit because everything is done online. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to call anyone. You don't have to wait for confirmation or for approval. You just go online, you click a button, you say, okay, I would like to increase the limit for Olivier from 1,000 to 3,000, and it's immediately available wherever he is. So that's in the nutshell how we started the product, the expense management tool that allow you to use corporate credit cards with online platform to manage all your expenses.
Yeah, so a lot more flexible than the traditional setup that was there, and instant, indeed, the possibility to change the credit line instantly. I think that's a massive gain, because I still remember from my business trips when we were allowed to travel that indeed I was ever paying everything out of my own account. Indeed, it was always a hassle. Then you're losing time when you're back at the office to settle everything. Then the accountant loses time to make everything fit. And indeed, if you're going away on a trip for a week, the expense can rack up, especially if you have dinners every night, hotel, etc. So yeah, I can definitely see that as a very promising solution. And you mentioned that you chose both virtual and physical card. Why the decision to keep the physical card in there? Because potentially could you with just a virtual card?
Yeah, so first thing that we put on top of our priorities is to make everything easy for an entrepreneur, for business people. And myself, as managing the company, I want things to happen instantly. I want to get what I want immediately because I need it for my business. So yeah, that's why we said, okay, if you need a new card, you request it, it's immediately available as a virtual card inside the application. You can start using it immediately. And then if you need plastic, because in some cases you still need the plastic, or like when you are traveling and you're paying tools on the road, or you're paying gas stations, or you come to the hotel and they ask, please give us a card for security deposit, you still need plastic. But you don't have to have it. In our case, we put a digital first. So the first card is created as a digital. And then if you want to order a copy of this card in plastic, you can, but you don't have to.
Yeah, so the choice is really up to the merchant, to the company.
Indeed. The main point is that when card is requested, it's immediately available. So it's very easy process. I haven't, and also it's quite global. For example, operating out of Luxembourg, if I have an employee in France or in Spain, I can send him a link to invite him to become a member of my team on the platform. Yep. So the guy clicks on the link, show his face, show his ID card, biometric verification works immediately, and I see him already on the platform, so I can immediately issue the cards. Yep. With remote working, it's very convenient because even if he needs a plastic, it will be delivered to his home address, not to my company address. So I can operate with distributed workforce and do it very efficiently.
Yeah, and of course the friction that you experienced why you started this company, having to set your own account as a deposit for the risk that issuing these cards takes. That, of course, also that risk is also something that you guys experience. How do you mitigate that risk and therefore have to be able to offer the possibility to a company to issue those cards directly on the company and not have a owner as a guarantee for the credit?
Indeed, risk management, in our case, in our product that is based on credit line, is a very important part of what we are doing.
Yep.
So we focus on the company itself, and we have scoring procedures that allow us to automatically score the risk associated with a particular company based on various parameters, both traditional like revenue and not traditional like for startups. We don't base it on revenue, we base it on founders, we base it on capital, on the product. So we have quite a sophisticated tool that allow us to allocate credit limit to the company. And then when the company is with us as a client, we constantly monitor the performance and we adjust limit accordingly. So we would like to encourage responsible financial behavior of our clients with higher limits.
Yeah.
So that's how we control the risk, but we also keep flexibility for our clients. The unique feature of our product that it combines features of credit cards and debit cards. For example, if I have my credit limit of 5,000 euro for my company, but I need to spend 20, I can always load more money to my Everest account and they will be available on top of the credit limit. So this is the
so you
flexibility.
can have a debit score of 15,000 euros and a negative the credit of 5,000, making a total purchase of 20,000 available.
And it's combined, yes, it's combined purchasing power that your team can use in your expenses.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's not something that you see quite a lot. Were there a lot of difficulties in setting this up with MasterCard, for example?
In order to set up the product like this, you have to operate directly on MasterCard network. And that's why for us, it was critically important to get support from MasterCard when we started conceptualizing, designing the product. Yeah. So we managed to convince MasterCard to support us, and we became principal member of MasterCard. That is quite unusual for a startup. Usually it's for bigger financial institutions, for bigger banks.
Yeah. So what was the magic sauce that you have that allowed you to become a principal member?
There were two sides of the process. On one side, MasterCard currently is moving quite strongly towards startups and fintechs, realizing that there is a huge opportunity for card distribution and card acceptance in new technologies. So they have a special programs that allow selected fintechs to get fast track for principal membership. And we were selected for one of this program that called Star Pass on the side of MasterCard. So we were lucky enough, we presented our product. It was quite a competitive selection, but when we were selected, we were able to go really fast with processing to principal membership. And as a principal member, as a principal issuing member of MasterCard, we actually designed the product ourselves. And we issue the product directly on MasterCard network and settle transactions directly on MasterCard network. So that's why we have this flexibility that allow us to build the product exactly according to the needs of our clients.
Yeah. And then you start designing the product and having the endorsement of MasterCard. How then do you go about finding the first clients? And I can imagine that the endorsement of MasterCard plays a massive role in this as well. But how was the process for you signing up the first clients and really rolling out the product to go live?
Honestly speaking, that wasn't that complicated because we found out that there is a need on the market. So we started with our home market in Luxembourg. We ran a little campaign to make sure that we present our brand and our product and communicate it to our new clients. And they started to come and sign up for the product. For us, the main way of customer acquisition is online because everything is online. So when someone sees our post on Facebook or our comments on the LinkedIn or just know about us, they just click on the link, go to our website and start onboarding process. That's how we've got the first set of pilot clients that are quite diverse, I would say. We have fintechs, we have IT companies, we have traditional services like car rental, limo services, we have consultants, we have legal firms, quite
Yeah.
a wide range that allow us to evaluate the needs of our clients and to adjust and develop product accordingly. Because we are still positioning ourselves as a startup, so we are always looking for new features for how we can better care for the needs of our clients. The development of the product, ongoing development, is a very important part of our work and a big part of our investment as well.
Yeah, and with such a broad portfolio of clients and as well having a more automated process of onboarding, I can imagine that also possesses specific difficulties because if indeed you want to automate this onboarding process for startup companies, where indeed you have to score the founders, you have to score the potential revenues, etc., that's a lot more complicated than scoring a traditional company. How then do you manage to accurately score this with minimal human input?
That's the challenge that we have in our technologies, how to make it efficient, because we cannot spend a lot of efforts, we cannot dedicate a lot of manual work to every single client, because we want
Yeah,
to have a product that is massively available
yeah, you need the
for Europe.
scalability in order to make it profitable.
Exactly. So we rely on machine learning tools. We rely on artificial intelligence that allow us to learn from the process and to update it constantly while we are going on. So, like our scorecards, they are not static scorecards; they are dynamic scorecards that allow us to learn on the experience that we have, to learn on clients that we already have, and to adjust them constantly. That's how we minimize the manual work. So the manual work is mainly about training the system rather than doing actual scoring.
Yeah, and then do you score a, for instance, a consultancy startup differently than a fintech startup, or is there one generic system that you use for all the companies that are onboarding?
We take into account various factors, and of course, the business line, the segment, the vertical is important consideration indeed.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then you mentioned that you are a startup yourselves as well. Part of that is constantly developing new features. What are some of the features that you're currently working on that you're looking forward to roll out?
So I more or less described our feature of the expense management. That's how we started, and that's what is becoming more and more popular among our clients. And we also faced the demand from our clients to consolidate their financial operations, their payment operations in one place. So they were coming to us and saying, "Look, guys, you have this nice, beautiful expense management tool, and we still have to combine it with our ongoing operations, receivables, incoming payments, salaries, invoices. So we have to have it in two places. Can you facilitate it? Can you make it somewhat easier for us to manage everything from one single platform?" So that's what we are going to release next. It's almost ready. It's in the final stage of testing. It's what we called current account banking as a service. So
Hmm.
when this feature is released, you will be able not only to run your expenses and credit cards, but have a current account, like a banking account with IBAN number on Everest, and use it for all your incoming payments, for collecting payments from your clients and from
Hmm.
your partners, and also making all your expenses, not only the ones that are done by credit cards,
But also
but
salary
also paying
payouts,
invoices,
rent. Yeah.
payouts, rents, and salaries. So everything will be consolidated in one place on one platform with the same system of managing expenses, tax, digital receipts that will apply to all types of transactions, not only to card transactions. So
Yeah.
that's something that is imminent, that is coming to the market, something that we will first enroll in Belgium and Netherlands, and then in other European markets. And the next thing in the pipeline that I also can share now as a vision is the solution that would allow you to facilitate collecting payments from your clients. Because for every business, incoming payments is a live stream. So you have to make it easier. And what we are introducing is a very nice invoicing tool that allow you to generate invoices and send them to your clients directly with a payable link inside the invoice. So when your client receives the invoice, there will be no delays and no need to go to a bank and make a payment. They will just click on the link and initiate payments that automatically will come to your Everest accounts.
Yeah, but I always find fascinating because this indeed is a very customer-friendly tool that you can use. However, we are as well in a situation where quite a few companies are struggling with COVID. Industries have been hit hard, and that perhaps companies want to make use of the payment period that before the invoice is due. Is it, for instance, as well possible to say, okay, I received the invoice today. I have a 30-day payment period. I want to pay it in 28 days, and I will now already plan the payment in advance. Is that something that you're working on as well, or is that something then that the client will need to go back into the same link 28 days later?
You're correct. Cash flow management is definitely becoming difficult during this COVID time. And we see how we can help our clients with facilitating the cash management, facilitating their financial situation. So one thing is indeed the initial credit line that you get that allow you to make your expenses during the statement period, 30 days, and then have 5 days grace to repay those expenses. So in fact, it's up to 35 days of free financing. You don't pay any interest or any fee on this. It's totally free. But then, for example, if you send an invoice to your clients and you say this invoice is payable within 60 days, that's quite normal in Europe, you have to wait for 60 days to get your money. So we created a partnership with one of the major players on the market who provide refinancing for invoices. So this is also going to be available in our invoicing tool. When you issue an invoice to your client and it's payable within 60 days, you will have a little link on the invoice that allow you to say, okay, I would like to immediately refinance this invoice with certain discounts. So if you have this problem and if you need the money immediately, you will be able to use this tool to get advance payment against your invoice, which I think
So it's
will help many companies.
factoring services.
Factoring, yes, that's integrated in the same platform. So when you issue invoice, in fact, you see already how much of money you can get in terms of factoring.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the developments because you start off with offering one solution, expense management, and with that you get a foot into the door, and then slowly but surely you're able to take little chunks of the more traditional players in the banking landscape and grow your portfolio of services in a very client-friendly manner.
Yeah, that's how we see strategically our advantage. That's the value that we deliver to the market. We create a platform that allow businesses to do all their banking needs, all the financial needs, and more than that, in one place. Something that traditional banks are normally not offering because they are focused on narrow payment scheme. For example, now in our platform, you go there and among other tabs on the screen, you have a tab that is called Travel. And you can go there and you can book your travel. We have partnership with Kayak that allow you to immediately book your travel from Everest platform. Tickets, airplanes, hotels. And then if you do that, you get 1.5% of cashback on your travel booking. So we kind
and
of
it's automatically already registered in expense management.
Indeed. That's what we see the demand from our clients. They want to have things fully automated. They don't want to spend time on payments. No one is really excited about payments in the business. No one wake up in the morning and say, okay, it's a nice day. I will go and make few payments today.
Today I will take out all the invoices and start paying money. No. I've never seen anybody excited about that.
So the ideal situation for me is when payment totally disappears from user experience. Like when you are using Uber, for example. You
Yep.
jump into the taxi, you go to your destination, you leave the taxi, you don't notice the payment. Payment is done
Yep.
automatically on the background. That's the ideal situation.
Yeah, and
That's
then having that
where we are
payment
aiming.
in the expense management tool so that everything is
Yeah,
done. Because I have to
exactly.
say I also use, for instance, car to go or variants of that. But then when you're back at the office, still you need to take out the invoice. You need to make that happen. So no, that's indeed great. And then besides Everest, I know that you've been working on something else as well, and that's an onboarding tool, a separate solution on its own. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, definitely. That is the technology that we initially developed for ourselves because when we wanted to allow our clients to create accounts to onboard them quickly, we
Mm-hmm.
found out that we need to have new technology
Yeah.
to allow to do that. So we looked for different elements of the technology, like biometric verification, for example. How do we make sure that the person in front of camera is indeed the person that he or she claims to be? We checked how we can do online screening because we have to be compliant with AML KYC requirements as a regulated financial institution. So we need to perform screening of our customers, but we wanted to make it quick and fast. We wanted to make it real time, online. We wanted to make sure that we can collect and process supporting documents, verify emails, phone numbers. So all the steps that needs to be done, we wanted to automate it. And while doing that, we realized that the tool that we created, or the solution that we created, could be useful not only for us, but also for other financial institutions that want to switch from that would like to switch from a traditional paper-based or form-based onboarding to more faster, better user experience. So
Closer to the
we packaged
21st
this.
century.
Indeed. So we packaged this tool as a commercial solution, and now we are offering it on the market to financial institutions, banks, insurance companies, investment managements, and also to fintechs. There are a number of fintechs who are using our onboarding solution. It's fully white label, so as a customer, you don't see it. You
Yeah.
see the presence of your provider, your institution, or your fintech that is providing services to you. But on the background, all the verifications, all the checks are done on our servers, and so all the data are delivered to our clients in the actionable digital form for completing the onboarding process.
And how then does that? Because I was just thinking out loud. Of course, now with deepfake videos, it's more and more easy to change somebody's appearance online. Is it a concern that you have as well if you're, for instance, using biometrics to scan the facial recognitions of an individual? Do you see any concerns there, or is that the technology able to clearly identify the deepfake that has been used?
It's always a process. It's ongoing competition between the security tools and the fraudsters who would like to penetrate the security tools. So we have to constantly update the technology that we are using. When we started using this solution, we relied on just simple biometrics. Then we realized that simple biometrics cannot protect our customers, our clients from fraudsters. So we introduced two-layer biometrics that define not only the topography of human face, but also age, gender, and even emotional state of the person in front of camera. Then we went from static biometric to dynamic biometrics. So that's constantly ongoing process. I would say that the technology that we are using now is quite strong. That allows us to identify whether the person in front of camera is a real person or a video recording. So we can clearly say, okay, this is a real person sitting in the real room, or this is a video recording that is translated to the camera of the device. So that allows us to identify fakes based on video manipulation and video creation. And we are always looking at what's new on the market on the other side of the wall and try to see what are the tools that we can use in order to straighten our
I
security.
heard a comparison once of a prison guard who said, "We are here and we need to stop every opportunity for the prisoner to escape, and the prisoner only needs to find one opportunity that works." And so there's a huge discrepancy there that doesn't play into the favor. But you mentioned something that was interesting for me, that you can also identify emotions in the person's facial recognition. Of course, that's also pretty valuable, that if you see that during the onboarding process somebody becomes sadder or less happy, then you can translate that back to your client. So listen, in these steps, somebody perhaps gets frustrated or somebody gets distracted. How can we use that in order to optimize conversion?
Yes, definitely. On one hand, there is technology that is available that we can use. And on the other hand, we have to be creative to see how we can actually use this technology. What is the value that we can extract from this technology for ourselves and for our clients as well?
Yeah, yeah. And then coming back to Everest, a question that just popped in my head that I totally forgot to mention is that you're currently focusing on more startup companies. What is roughly the maximum size that you can service, and where's the tip over point where it makes more sense to work with a more traditional partner?
I would say that initially when we created the product and put it on the markets, we were more focused on smaller companies, on startups and traditional small businesses. So we saw that, yes, those are the guys who are underserved by financial services, and we deliver value for them. But to our surprise, we had quite a few really sizable clients who came to us and said, look, guys, can we use your solution? Because, for example, when we go for corporate cards in our Luxembourgish bank, they say, okay, we can issue cards for your employees in Luxembourg, but if you have people who are working for you in France or in Spain or even in the US, we cannot do that. Even bigger companies like big consulting companies, Deloitte, EY, they had to open accounts in every single company and have cards for their employees.
Yeah.
Specifically, yes. And in terms of management, in terms of financial flows, it's a nightmare. You have to make sure that you have sufficient balances in all those accounts in all countries in order to support the expenses of your employees. So to our surprise, we currently have quite a few bigger clients that are using our solution as a pilot. Of course, the decision making in this size of the companies is much more complicated than in small businesses, so it takes longer. But it's a very interesting opportunity on the markets. They definitely can't get what they really want for their expense management from traditional banks, and we are here to help them.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that you can instantly adjust the limit of somebody's card and also get instant notification when a purchase has been made or a payment has been made. Is it also possible for the user of the card to instantly scan the tickets or the receipts that he or she has received and link that to the payment that has just been made in order to put everything in one system? Or is it still a challenge to gather all the receipts and bring them back to the office?
Yeah, indeed. That's where we facilitate the process quite substantially, because that's what we were facing. When I was coming back from business trip, always one or two receipts were missing, and I didn't get the reimbursement. But what we are doing now is, in terms of user experience, it works quite beautifully. When I go for a lunch with a client, for example, and I pay with Everest card, I immediately receive notification on my mobile. I click on this notification, it activates the camera, and I can just do snapshot of the receipt. It's digitized, it's attached to the transaction. I can throw it away immediately. I don't have to keep the papers anymore because everything is digital from the very beginning. And interesting enough, when we are talking with bigger companies, they say, look, our employees, they sometimes forget to scan the receipt. We need to find ways to remind them. So we created a tool.
Let's send them a push notification.
Allow you, push notification is good, but for example, if the company can set up a policy, like for example, if someone does not attach receipt to 3 consecutive transactions, his card is blocked automatically. So that's quite a strong incentive. And because we are using because we are using technology platform for cards online, we can implement all those tools and all those policies on behalf of our clients.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And then perhaps to summarize, because I think there's a lot of friction that you're currently already taking away, but you also mentioned that your ideal world is where the friction of payment totally evaporates, basically. How do you see it in a perfect world? So, for especially then for expense management, for instance, your employees go out into the world, they make the payments. How does the payment disappear in this flow?
So in that sense, what we want to do is we want to get more information automatically from the payment and from the payment network that is used in order to categorize the expenses. So we want to automate categorization of the expenses. So when you do the transaction, it's automatically put on the certain accounting baskets. And then
Yep.
all this information is automatically shared with your accounting software or with your accountant. So at the
So
end of the
basically,
day,
the level 3 data that you can get with closed loop systems, if we can somehow integrate that into these type of payments, then we're almost there.
yes, indeed. And then you transfer all the data to your accounting tool. So you have complete accounting there. And so from the user experience perspective, it will look very smooth. Like you use the card, so you make the payments from your account. And then at the end of the month, you have all your balance sheets already prepared for your accountant and for your approval. And
Yeah.
moreover, you can see your expenses and you can control your cash flow on the daily basis, not only at the end of the month. So you have full visibility and the full forecast, what's going on with your payments and where will be you in your cash position 30 days from now, 40 days from now, 3 months from now.
Yeah, so not only in the future will we have total control for our expense management as well, we will not have to pay our accountants as much in order to make everything balance in the end of
Indeed.
the month.
Indeed, I don't have anything against accountants, but I think we can make their work much more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm looking forward to those days, but I think I've got the feeling that they are closer around the corner than I thought they would be.
Thank you. That's what we're doing. That's the goal.
All right. Thanks a lot for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Yeah, let's stay in touch because I feel that there are new things coming up on the short notice. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to share our views and our product with you and see your audience. And wish you a great day.
Thank you very much.